Good morning, everyone. I am Jennifer Ferris, a member of the NILA Sustainability Initiative, and I'm excited to have Todd Gardner from the Office of General Services join us today to talk about green procurement and guide us through the OGS website. Todd is a contract manager and he leads the Green Procurement Team. This team was formed in April of 2017 to help purchasers find green products, to develop contracts for environmentally friendly products and services, and to identify the benefits of green purchasing. Green purchasing is one of the areas for the Sustainable Library Certification Program, and a topic that I hope helps libraries find it more economically feasible to be greener. Without further delay, let me pass this over to Todd, since I am here to learn with you all today.
Thanks, Jen, and good morning. My name is Todd Gardner, and I work at the New York State Office of General Services in the Procurement Services Group. At OGS, I manage the Green Procurement Team, and today I'm going to talk to you about green procurement resources. For my presentation, I'm going to go over three topics: how to use the OGS centralized contracts, how to find and purchase green products on the OGS contracts, and then green labeling, which is currently a hot topic. And that involves how products are labeled green by companies. So it gets into things like greenwashing and what types of labels are considered weak and what types of labels are considered stronger. So let me get started by giving you an introduction to the OGS centralized contracts. OGS was established in 1960 to provide support services to state agencies and local governments. We are the state's centralized procurement office, and so we're responsible for establishing and managing centralized contracts. Overall, we have about 1,500 contracts that are worth around $4.5 billion, and so that's a really big number. And so we have a lot of purchasing power behind our contracts, and that number can actually be considered the 7th largest economy in the world. So the contracts that we offer are typically statewide, and there's three types: commodities, services, or technology contracts. And some of the more frequently used contracts that you might be familiar with would include like our recycled paper contracts, our recycling and trash removal contract, or even our green cleaning contract. So why do people use our contracts? The three main reasons are that they save buyers time, they save buyers money, and there's a lot of choices on our contracts. And so I would say, in general, using our contracts is easier than doing your own procurement most of the time. And next is who can use our contracts. And our contracts can be used by a number of government entities, and that includes public and nonprofit libraries. And we typically refer to our contract users as authorized users. And it's a defined term, it's a legal term, and it includes state agencies, local governments, school districts, colleges, charities, public authorities, and public benefit corporations. And as I mentioned earlier, it does include public and nonprofit libraries. And so if you have any questions about whether your organization can use our contracts, you can always call our customer services unit, and they'll help you make that determination and get you an OGS customer number. So once you decided to use our contracts, where do you find them? We have all of our contracts listed on our website, so that's a very helpful resource. And in my opinion, an easy way to find us is to use Google. You can Google New York State OGS Procurement Services, and our website will come up. I also have a link to the website here. And then once you get to our website, you're going to click on Find Contracts. And then you can choose either commodity, service, or technology. And then those links will take you to alphabetical listings of the contracts that fall under those groups. So this is a screenshot of our website, and I've circled the links for the commodity, service, and technology contracts for reference. Most of the green contracts that we're going to talk about later are under the commodity contracts, but we do have a few contracts under services and technology. For example, we have the recycling and trash removal contract, which is under services, and we have our computer aggregate buy, which is under the technology contracts. So if you click on the button for the commodity contracts, it'll take you to a list, and this is the screen that will come up. And basically, it's an alphabetical list of the groups that are under the commodities contracts. And what you have is, on the left, you have the group number, and on the right, you have an alphabetical list of a description of the groups. And so from here, you can click on the group number, and that will take you to the awards that are under that group. So like as an example, if you were to click on group 390, which is down here, which is the contract for industrial and commercial supplies, or rather the group number for industrial and commercial supplies, it'll take you to the awards that are under that group number. And there are 2 awards under this number. There's 22830, which is the environmentally preferable cleaning products contract. We also like to call that contract the green cleaning contract. And then there's award 22918, which is the industrial and commercial supplies contracts. And then from here, if you click on the award number, it will take you to the landing page for that award. So if you were to click on 22830, it would take you to this landing page. And basically everything that you need to know about the contract is on this page. There's an award document which summarizes the contractors, and for a commodities contract, that'll contain the terms and conditions for the contract. There are contract update documents that talk about things like price updates or changes to contact information. And then there's a contractor's information page, which contains additional ordering information, and often the pricing will be there. There could be also be information in there on resellers. So basically, this page contains all of the information that you need to know in order to use the contract. And so to summarize, if you're interested in using our contracts, the first thing you want to do is verify that you can, and you want to obtain your OGS customer number. Then once you have the number, you want to review the contract information on our website, and then follow the procurement instructions for the contract. And so for help, you can either contact either the contract manager for the contract or customer services, and I have the number and the link there for customer services. So now I'm going to move on to the next part of the presentation, which is how to purchase green products. And as I mentioned earlier, I manage the Green Procurement Team, and this team was formed in April of last year. So we've recently passed our first anniversary date. And the goals of the team are to help purchasers find green products, to develop green contracts, and to identify the savings and benefits of purchasing green products and services. And some examples of the types of contracts that our team works on includes solar power, green cleaning, and we have a new environmentally preferable lighting contract that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So when I talk about finding green products, the first thing that I like to go over is the purchasing order of precedence. And this can be found in the New York State Procurement Guidelines, which applies to state agencies. So I think you guys should review your organization's procurement rules to see if the order of precedence applies to you, or if there are other requirements for buying from preferred sources. But in any event, the order of precedence for a state agency requires purchasers to first buy from a New York State preferred source if the product meets its form, function, and utility. And that can include environmental criteria. So if you're looking for a green product and you know, the preferred sources offer a product but it doesn't have the green specifications that you're looking for, you can use that to bypass the preferred source and then buy from the centralized contract. And the 3 preferred sources are Corecraft, who offers environmentally preferable hand soap and cleaning products, the New York State Preferred Source Program for people who are blind, who also offers hand soap and cleaning products, and the New York State Industries for the Disabled, who offers hand soap and cleaning products and paper towels, toilet tissue, electric hand dryers, and LED light bulbs. So if the products offered by the preferred sources meet your form, function, and utility, you would buy it from them. And then if not, you can move on to the OGS centralized contracts. And so to help purchasers find products that are on centralized contracts or through preferred sources, we've created a very helpful reference table, which is on the Green New York website under the Buy Green section. And if you haven't visited the Green New York website, I would suggest you spend some time checking it out, because it's a new website that was put up last year, and it was really done. It's a really nice website, and there's a lot of information on there, not just on buying green, but also on operating green, and there's a lot of other sustainability information on it. So it's a very helpful resource. And this table here lists commonly purchased green products, and then either the centralized contract or the preferred source where that product is offered. It has the group and award number for the contract, a link to the contract, and a link to the EO4 specification for the product. So if you're looking for a specific green product, or if you just want to see what types of products are out there, I would start by looking at this table, and then you can review the contracts that are listed on it. Now this slide shows some of the more frequently purchased green products and services, and I've tried to group them. I've tried to group the ones that are easier to implement at the top of the page and the ones that are a little harder to implement at the bottom. And typically the things that are easier to do involve buying recycled commodities or environmentally preferable products, such as the recycled copy paper or janitorial paper or green cleaning products. And then the harder things to do involve making operational changes, or even can involve like construction type work, like replacing your flooring or doing a lighting upgrade or implementing a composting program. So the first product on the list, which is easier to do, is to buy recycled copy paper. And in my opinion, this is one of the easiest ways to green the office. And OGS has 2 awards for recycled paper. We have an award for less than truckload lots, which is for smaller quantities of paper. And then we have another award for truckload lots, which is for larger quantities. So if you need larger quantities of paper, you should use the truckload lots because it has better pricing. And not only does the paper have 100% post-consumer fiber, but the paper is processed chlorine free. And in addition to buying recycled copy paper, you can also look into reducing the amount of printing that you do. Things that you can do to encourage that are to require double-sided printing as a default setting on your computers. You can also set your default settings to black and white printing so that you're also saving consumables. And some places have used printer management software to reduce the amount of printing. Another product that's at the top of the list is janitorial paper. And this refers to products like paper towels or toilet paper. And you can buy janitorial paper products through either the New York State Industries for the Disabled, which is a New York State preferred source, or the OGS environmentally preferable cleaning products contract. Both of these sources offer janitorial paper that has 100% recycled content and is either UL Ecologo or Green Steel certified. And similar to the recycled paper, you can also look to reduce your paper towel usage through the use of like a high efficiency hand dryer in the bathroom. The only thing you have to think about is you have to make sure that the use of the hand dryer won't create a noise problem. And so while we're talking about the green cleaning contract, this contract offers many other types of green products in addition to the janitorial paper. There are 12 categories of cleaners and cleaning equipment on the contract, including general purpose cleaners, floor maintenance chemicals, disinfectants and sanitizers, specialty cleaners, power janitorial equipment, general cleaning supplies, hand soaps, de-icing and snow melt products, waste and composting liners, which are trash bags, the janitorial paper, entryway and other matting systems, and microfiber cleaning services. And the best feature of this award is that it's 100% green. So all of the products listed on it are green products, and there's no need for the purchaser to do any research. You can just use the contract and you know that you're buying a green product. Another relatively easy product to green is your computers and printers. And you can do that by purchasing an EPEAT registered device. For those of you who aren't familiar with EPEAT, EPEAT is a system used by manufacturers to rate their products against environmental criteria. So if you buy an EPEAT certified computer, you can be sure that it meets environmental standards such as ROHS compliance, reduction of hazardous materials, and conformance to Energy Star standards. And if you're interested in buying an EPEAT computer, you can use our aggregate buy program, which has been in place, I think, since around 2007 or 2008. And this program gets a lot of use. So not only do you get the environmental benefits of buying an EPEAT computer, but you also get a really good price on the computer, which results in savings. And if you're interested in printers, you can buy an EPEAT Gold printer on our Award 22622 multifunction printers. And we're also planning a future aggregate buy for printers. And for those of you who are interested in reducing solid waste, you can increase your recycling and composting. And you can do that through Award 22760, which was awarded in 2015. This award is a mini bid contract that includes 11 recycling lots in addition to 4 trash removal lots and 2 composting lots. And because the recycling and composting fees are typically less than tipping fees, there should be a cost savings if you use those lots. The only thing I would say, or the only caveat I would give, is that although the recycling is very well established, composting is not as well established. And so that'll require a little more coordination with your maintenance staff, and you may need to train employees to make sure that the materials are properly sorted and placed in the correct containers. So now we're starting to move into the areas that are a little harder to implement. And the first one that I want to mention is using either reusable or compostable recyclable dishware instead of disposable products. And the reason that you should use reusable, compostable, or recyclable products is not just to reduce solid waste, but because there are some issues with the materials that those products are made of. For example, polystyrene, which is more commonly referred to as styrofoam, is a known carcinogen, and it's typically not accepted for recycling, even though it has a recycling symbol on it. And you know, when I think of polystyrene, I always think of like a foam, and you do see a lot of products that are made of foam, but some products now that are made of polystyrene actually look like a plastic. So you really have to be careful to make sure you're not buying a product that you think is plastic, but it's actually polystyrene. And so in addition to avoiding polystyrene, we also recommend that purchasers avoid the use of molded fiber products. And these are like, they kind of look like a cardboard or a paper board, and they're usually marketed as being compostable, which they are, they're compostable. But the issue that they have is that molded fiber is typically treated with fluorinated chemicals to add grease and fiber resistance. And there's some health concerns about fluorinated chemicals. So you have to be concerned about those chemicals possibly getting into the food, or even those chemicals getting into the compost when you go to compost the product. So those types of products are made of like sugarcane, wheat fiber, or blended plant fibers, or silvergrass. And the Center for Environmental Health did some really in-depth testing of specific products And so if you go to their website, you can see if the product you're buying was tested and if it contained fluorinated chemicals. So that's a really helpful resource, and I would suggest that you check it out. And so instead of using polystyrene or molded fiber products, we recommend that first you try to use reusable products, reusable dishware, such as old-fashioned china or ceramic or even a plastic dishes and plates. And of course, those have to be washed in between uses. And if that doesn't work for you, we would recommend using a compostable product, and that's not made of molded fiber. And that can include PLA, which is polylactic acid, PLA-coated paper, wax-coated paper, plain paper, bamboo, palm leaf products. And those should be either BPI certified or accepted by the Cedar Grove composting facility and then composted. And so if neither of those two options work for you, then we would recommend the use of recyclable products. And the most common recyclable plastics are number 1 and number 5, and those should be marked with the recycling code and then recycled. So moving on, lighting is another product that is frequently purchased because of the energy savings that can result. And depending on the scope of the project, it can be either easy or a little harder to implement. For example, it's relatively easy to purchase an energy savings light bulb for an existing light fixture, but it's a little more difficult if you need to change the fixture or you need design or consulting services. And OGS, we just recently released a new EP lighting contract on August 13th. It's an all green commodities contract. So the contract is 100% green, and you don't have to do any research on the products. You know, if you use the contract, you're going to be purchasing a green product. There's 7 types of lighting: troffers, high bay lighting, street lights, wall packs, plug and play LED tubes, linear fluorescent lamps, and ballasts. And because it was a competitive IFB, we got some really good pricing on there. So you're going to get dollar savings in addition to energy savings. And so if you're in the market for some lighting, I would suggest you check out this contract. So another area that you can green is your flooring projects. And you can do that by either buying environmentally friendly materials or recycling the old materials. It's relatively easy to green the materials, and we currently have a new EO4 specification for floor coverings, which has been tentatively approved. And that spec recommends that the flooring have at least one strong third-party certification, such as Cradle to Cradle Silver, UL Green Guard Gold, CRI Green Label Plus, or SDS Floor Score, that the material avoid the materials of concern, such as antimicrobials, heavy metals, PFCs, PVC, or fluorinated chemicals, that the adhesives meet our specification for adhesives, which also requires third-party certifications, and to help you, the current OGS award 23063 identifies products that meets the current EO4 spec for carpet and carpet tile. And so when the new specification for floor coverings is approved in April, we will also look to have products that meet that spec be self-identified. And so I would suggest that you start with the self-identified products and see if those meet your needs. And then the other thing you can do is to recycle your old carpet. Recycling is available on the OGS contract. I think if it's done right, it shouldn't cost any more than throwing away the old carpet. You might run into a few issues because people often don't do the recycling, and so it requires a little more coordination and oversight with the contractor to make it happen. A relatively new product, green product, that can be purchased at OGS are zero-emission vehicles. And the DEC and OGS are currently offering aggregate buys for electric and electric hybrid vehicles. We're working on a new buy right now, and it's going to include 4 types of vehicles: an all-electric sedan, an electric hybrid sedan, an electric hybrid minivan, and a small electric hybrid SUV. And personally, I think the electric hybrid vehicles are the way to go because they have a gas backup engine. And so while most of your trips will fall within that electric range, you do have that gasoline backup, so you don't have to worry about running out of electricity while you're out there on the road. And the aggregate buys are open to all users of OGS contracts. The only thing that I think makes buying a zero emission vehicle a little tricky is that you have to have the charging station installed. So I think it depends on your situation. If you're buying a zero emission vehicle for your library's fleet, if you have a small fleet, installing a charging station for your fleet for your 1 or 2 zero emission vehicles is probably not a big deal, especially if it's not accessible to the public. And so the final contracts that I want to talk about are our solar contracts. We have 2 awards, a photovoltaic systems contract, where the purchaser buys the system up front and then owns and maintains it. We're currently replacing our award, and we're going to have a new award up this fall. And then we also have a solar power purchase agreement contract, under which the purchaser doesn't pay anything up front, and then the contractor builds, owns, and maintains the system, and then the purchaser buys the electricity. And typically it's for a long term of like 20 or 25 years. So the 2 awards both have pros and cons. I think the PV systems contract is nice because you have full control over the system and it's yours. The disadvantage is that you have to pay for it up front. And I think the solar PPA contract is very convenient because you don't have to pay anything up front, but then you are entering into a long-term agreement, and those agreements can typically be pretty complicated. So you're going to need some specialized legal expertise to kind of help you navigate through that. And so that brings me to the last part of my presentation, which is green labeling. And this refers to how products are labeled with respect to green claims. Last year, we reviewed the green labeling practices of a few of our vendors as part of a NASPO-funded project. And we used the results of that study to identify greenwashing and weak and strong claims. And we hope to use the results of the study to develop guidelines for our contracts so that products can be labeled accurately and in a more consistent manner. The first thing that we need to do is define what greenwashing is. And greenwashing is an attempt to make a product appear to be environmentally friendly when it isn't. And it can take several forms, such as mislabeling or being vague or simply making false claims. And so to protect yourself, you need to be skeptical. You want to educate yourself as to what claims are strong and legitimate, and then avoid buying products with claims that are either vague or can't be verified. So here's a few examples of the types of greenwashing that we found during the study. There were many cases where products had an inaccurate or meaningless claim, and those can include claims that a product met a certification when it didn't. For example, a product claims to be UL Ecologo certified, but when you look up the product in the UL spot database, it isn't there. Or there could be claims that a product contains recycled content, but it doesn't say how much. There were also vague claims where there might not be an accompanying reference. For example, the green label might say it saves energy, or it contains recycled content, or has low VOC, all of which are meaningless without a reference point. And then the last example are unsubstantiated claims, which include products that are labeled green without any supporting information or that are impossible to verify, or claims that they are certified by an organization, but the organization doesn't certify that product. And so the next step up from greenwashing are weaker claims. And these are claims that technically aren't greenwashing, but they're also not strong enough to be used to identify green products because there are other problems. And the two types of weak claims that we found included products that were labeled green because they held a single attribute certification, when there was also a stronger multi-attribute certification that covered that product category, and then products that had a trade-off. So you could have a product that has a single attribute certification, but then it also contains hazardous ingredients. And so in these cases, we feel like the product should not be labeled green. So as an example of a weak claim, you could have a paint, an interior paint that is Green Guard certified, which is good, but then it also contains hazardous materials and has a Prop 65 warning on it. So in this case, we feel that the hazardous materials and Prop 65 warning outweigh the Green Guard certification, and as a result, this product shouldn't be labeled green. And so finally, we come to the stronger claims, which we think can be used to successfully identify green products. And strong claims include products that are labeled green because they have a multi-attribute third-party certification, products that are labeled green because they have a single attribute certification when no multi-attribute third-party certification exists, and there's no trade-off, and products that are inherently green, such as light occupancy sensors, low-flow plumbing fixtures, rechargeable batteries, water bottle refill stations, recycling kits, or lead-free wheel weights. And so examples of strong third-party multi-attribute certifications include Ecologo, Green Seal, or Safer Choice, and these are strong because they look at multiple environmental criteria. So for example, they might look at the VOCs of a product and materials of concern. The evaluation is done by an independent company. And so in general, we think these are the strongest types of green labeling that can be used. And as examples of stronger single attribute certifications, we have Energy Star, WaterSense, and DLC listed lighting, even though these criteria typically only look at a single environmental criteria. We think these are strong enough to be considered a good green label. And so to summarize, you want to be aware that greenwashing exists. There's actually quite a bit of it out there, probably more than you would think. And you want to look at labeling with skepticism. You want to ask yourself if the claim makes sense and if you can verify it, and whether it's a strong or a weak claim. And you want to know which labels are considered the strong ones and which ones are the weak, and then avoid the products that have the weak, vague, or unverifiable claims. Because, you know, really, companies will give you the product that you buy. So if you buy the products that have strong green claims, you'll see more of them out there. And I think the companies respond to demand. So that brings me to the end of my presentation, and I think now we're going to open up the floor to questions.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent. We do have several questions, and I did want to start off, Todd, by asking you this question. Can your slide presentation be made available to us outside of the recording? So we have like a PDF version of that, so they can have the link.
Yes, and that's not a problem. I'll look into that and send you a PDF.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. We do have, so let's see, one of the questions we have is the recycling composting services statewide.
Okay. So we have a recycling and trash removal services contract. It's award 22760. there is, I believe recycling is available in all of the regions, and the contract is set up by counties. So each county, I believe, has recycling. Composting is a little more, the coverage is a little more spotty. I think there's really good coverage for composting in the New York City and downstate areas, and a little bit less coverage upstate. And that could be because New York City has a program for composting, whereas in upstate the demand isn't quite there yet. But that's an area that composting is an area that I'd love to improve our coverage on. Was there more to the question, or is that?
That was the question. Matt asked it. Do you have a follow-up to that, Matt? Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'm trying to figure out the best way to go through this. There was a question about, so many libraries use receipt printers. Do you have a resource for recyclable paper?
For receipt paper, I would have to look into that. I'm sure we have receipt paper on our office supplies contract. I'd have to look to see if there's receipt paper with recycled content on that contract.
Let's see. Where can I find the lighting awards? It doesn't seem to be on the electricity group on the website.
Yeah, so the new lighting contract is under group 05400. The electricity group is 05302. So if you go to 05400, that's the correct group number for the EP lighting contract.
Great. Can you discuss green disposal of computers and peripherals?
Yeah, this question comes up quite a bit. A lot of people are interested in an electronics recycling contract. And right now, we don't offer a centralized contract for electronics recycling because OGS has its own surplus program. And so our electronics waste is handled through that program. But that's an area that I'd like to look into in the future. Down the road, we may develop an electronics recycling contract.
Thank you. You and I talked about that yesterday as well.
Yeah.
Which I guess I'm going to throw in my question as a follow-up for that. We talked about batteries, especially after talking about a lot of our local recyclers say that it's okay to put batteries in the landfill. So what's your solution to actually disposing of batteries properly?
So yeah, we don't think, even though you could put small quantities of batteries, some regulations might allow you to throw them away. We recommend that they be recycled. And if you go to our industrial and commercial supplies contract, you can buy a recycling kit for batteries, and they're not all that expensive. They come, basically what you're buying is a pail to put the batteries in, and it comes with a prepaid shipping label. So then you ship the batteries off to the recycling location, and the batteries will get recycled. And we also have recycling kits through that contract for things like lamps, light bulbs, compact fluorescent lights, or linear fluorescent lamps. So you can also recycle those products as well. And that's group number 39000, award 22918, industrial and commercial supplies.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. How do we get an OGS customer number?
Yes, if you're not sure what your OGS customer number is, or if you don't have one, you would call our customer services group, and the contact information for them is going to be in the presentation, and then they will help you evaluate if you're eligible, and then get you the OGS customer number. And so I think I mentioned libraries are allowed to use our contracts, so I think most of the people out there should be able to use our contracts.
We've got a question about opportunities for service providers, such as architects and engineers. So are there any?
Our contracts are for like commodities and then services and technology, but we don't have any contracts for like engineering services or environmental remediation services or anything like that. So now our contracts focus on like services that an OGS customer might need for their office, and not like an engineering type service.
I think these two questions kind of go together, so I'm going to do them both together, and if they're not, Maria and Annie, you can tell me that they don't go together. But this one question is there any system in the state working through OGS for aggregate buying for their member libraries? And then the second question was, at what size of institution do the contracts become cost effective? So one's asking, you know, is it cost effective to do it as an institution, and what size does that make sense? And should we bump it up to many public or all of the public libraries have library system that they belong to? So does it make more sense for aggregate buying for the member libraries? Does that make sense?
I think I understand. So, I mean, our contracts have set pricing. So for the purposes of using our contracts, I don't think aggregating the libraries helps, although you could always use that to negotiate a lower price. The contractors can always offer a lower price to our contract users, and we encourage our users to ask for better pricing. So I guess the answer is you don't need to aggregate the libraries to use our contracts, but you can to get a better price.
Okay, hope that answered both of your questions. We've got a question that says, can I get more details on compostable dishware, and how do I become a supplier?
Well, the compostable, we have a specification for single-use food containers, and that's on our Green New York website. So I would suggest you kind of go to that website and find our EO4 specs, and then you can view the specifications that we have for those products. To become a supplier, we don't currently have a contract for compostable plates, but they are offered through our food contracts. So I think you know, to become a supplier, you would have to form your own relationship with one of the contractors on that contract.
And then I've got a follow-up to the compostable dishware thing. I wrote this down. So if composting in general, especially throughout the state, is limited, and if you buy compostable dishware, what are you supposed to do with it if you don't have a composting program that you're associated with?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I think the idea is you want to buy the compostable product, and then you want to have it composted, because what are you really, I don't know if you're really accomplishing much by throwing it away, although it will break down in the landfill. It's really meant to be composted. So I think the point of it is to figure out a way to implement a composting program. I don't know like how much food waste a library would generate. So I probably just from your staff, right?
Well, we have programs and events as well, so it depends on the library and what they offer to their community.
Right. Okay. But I think the idea is to if you're going to buy the compostable product, you want to compost it. So if you're not going to compost it, you probably should look into like a recyclable product, because at least then you're recycling it.
Let's see, I've got a question about, so we heard that recycling programs throughout the U.S. are being impacted by China's recent termination in accepting U.S. recyclable trash. How is that impacting New York State?
So far, I haven't heard of any problems with our recycling contract, but I'd have to check with the contract manager to really know for sure. But I'm thinking so far our recycling programs aren't being implemented, and I don't know if the issue mainly has to do with electronics recycling more so than like single stream recycling. So probably the single stream recycling isn't impacted by that right now, but I can check with the contract manager.
Thank you. And then Tina, you asked this question earlier, and I don't know if it was answered for you towards the end of his presentation, but the question was, could you repeat how to confirm a green label?
Well, typically, like for UL Ecologo or for a Green Seal label, you can go to the website for Green Seal or UL Ecologo, and you can search for that product or that company. So the way you would verify it is to go to go to the site of the third-party multi-attribute certification and actually see that the product is on there.
Does anyone else have any questions? I'll give you a moment to type in the box, and if not, oh, you've got a thank you, Todd.
No, you're welcome.
Yes, I appreciated this. Is very helpful for me. Still have 8 million questions, but I'm not going to ask them. Maybe maybe I will ask one last question, because I put a lot of, this is me personally, I put a lot of trust in places that I purchase things from, that they make good decisions. And that's one of your jobs, is to, make it easy for us to trust that you've done the research for us. So are you constantly monitoring, like, once a contract is issued, are you monitoring to make sure that they are keeping up to the integrity in which the contract was created? That's what I'm going to end on.
It's a valid question. I mean, we do monitor our contracts closely. As far as like green labeling, I think your best bet is to use the all green contracts. Like for example, the contracts I talked about here today, we have the recycled paper contracts, the computer aggregate buy, the green cleaning contract, the EP lighting contract. Those are contracts where there were environmental specifications, and so the products that are on the contract were fully vetted. And then I think you just have to be a little more cautious if you're dealing with a larger catalog contract and you're relying on the vendor to self-identify. And I'm not saying that that vendors don't do a good job at it, but there's a lot more room for mistakes and errors, when you have a larger catalog and it's not being vetted by someone else.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who came to the webinar today. Again, we will be sending out links to the webinar with references that were mentioned today. We hope to get a copy of the presentation so that you can just look at it and see all the contract information and have the links available at your fingertips. We are going to be at NYLA this year, the Sustainability Initiative. So I hope that you can join us there if you're going to be in Rochester. We're going to have a panel discussion on Friday afternoon. We have a fun run at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we will have a booth in the trade show. So we hope to see everybody there. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you.